Let's go. Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 27th of June. So, as June nearly ends, what have we got in store this week then? I'm going to look at the week more as much as anything else. It's quite important, I guess. We look ahead this week. Last week was a real choppy week in terms of news-wise. We had lots and lots of speakers yet last week, which made following the market quite difficult. There were obviously some key numbers coming out there as well in terms of the growth figures, which weren't particularly brilliant anywhere. But this week, we've got the G7 meetings that go on today and tomorrow. They started obviously yesterday. They're still continuing, which means basically we could have someone speak at any time. So it's not like we've got a schedule of speakers. They could be any of those members or any of the team that go to the G7 meetings could be talking and creating volatility, so we've got to be a bit careful. We got core durable goods today, US, but starting to move a little bit. It certainly starts showing growth, etc. So we'll be watching for that at 1:30. It's becoming more meaningful. It's been pretty low shit, sort of in the rankings up until lately, but I said it's becoming more meaningful. So that's today, really. Impending home sales. Again, this is a figure I haven't really watched for a long time. I'm talking years, the home sales, but it might become more key again as the squeeze goes on in the US, just to see how that squeeze is affecting the properties. I know from personal contacts, it's having quite an effect, but be interested to see what the numbers come out like. Okay, side of that then, that's today. We have got a couple of other speakers that are actually scheduled. We've got Villeroy this morning at 8 o'clock to watch out for. ECB President Lagarde speaking at 6:30. And then we've got another ECB speaker there at 2000 hours, which will be beyond our normal day trading period, but they're there. Right, let's get on and look at the technicals. Morning, Michael. So the technicals this morning, how are we sitting here? Well, we've got on the shorter time frames a lot of chop. I mean, even I'm just looking at the dailies of the euro here, and we've had like this sort of outside day, then inside day, and is today going to be another inside day, or are we going to get a little bit more chop? But what's it going to do? Was discussing this a little earlier, and I said that if I knew this was going to happen last week, I wouldn't have traded. It made for a very choppy old week. In fact, this euro looks great compared to some of the other markets here. Not the best of weeks last week in terms of trying to decide on a direction. And you can see it right the way through to the hourly time frame. If anything, on the euro, it has got some confirmed higher lows on the short term frame here, but with some very choppy and spiky price action. Which way is it going to go? With this sort of higher lows, one would expect it to go up. It's got the daily pivot, weekly pivot sitting just below it. Perhaps some sort of movements, if they're covered and it starts moving to the upside, could join in, but it's not clear. And they're talking about not clear markets. This is probably one of the worst. Was the pound dollar last week? It looked fine at times, but then when you look at it on the 4-hourly, it looks awful. If you were looking at trading this, you probably wouldn't start from here. Even retrospective trading wouldn't have got too much out of this as a market. It's choppy as anything right the way through. And which way is it going? Haven't got a clue. That really sort of suggests that I'll leave it alone for now at least. Dollar yen. I was just thinking back there were a couple of days on the pound where I really wanted to get into trades. Could have taken less. Ended up not taking anything on a couple of, at least one trade. Didn't take anything, and again, it's getting to those points, maybe the summer markets a little bit, where you start looking at, well, okay, I'm not looking for the overall. Either I go for a complete swing, or I can't go for a sort of like a few days swing. I've got to look at it one way or the other, or take slightly smaller targets intraday. Anyway, dollar yen high low still through here on the dailies, and it sort of almost looks like one of the clearer markets in a sense. He says at least it had a bit of a trend with lower highs, lower lows through part of last week. It's in I've drawn this. It's a bit of a funny old trend line actually. I'll put on there. Don't take too much notice. It has no key levels there as such, but a break of this could suggest further downside. It's just got it's just tied the lows together there. Near-term lows, but does look on the weaker side for the Aussie, for the US dollar there. Maybe talking of dollars, let's have a look at the Aussie dollar. Again, quite range bound. Morning, Michael. Quite range bound, quite sort of messy, without any. Very messy. Again, Aussie dollar looking quite ugly. The only thing is, again, it's got higher lows coming through here, but it's the sort of chart looks ugly. You've got this huge spike up on one day, and then we've seen this huge spike down another. Very uncertain markets. And finally, of the majors here, let's have a look at the Canadian dollar. This is really no great difference in this. It may be more of a swinging currency at the moment. It's done its double top there. It's put a lower high in on the dailies, and it's sort of looking better. But when you go back to look at how it looked for most of last week, it was quite ugly and choppy. It has broken out. The dailies don't really serve it well. Lower highs coming through here, maybe another one this morning. It's the only one that seems to be in a bit more of a trend, but even so, hardly looking pretty. Okay, there's the major currencies. Let's have a look at, let's just sort of swing through here, have a quick look at gold. So gold's in a bit of a funny old movement. I did wonder if gold prices would push up. I've seen that the G7 group are talking about not allowing trades of Russian gold, and I thought, well, is that going to put pressure on there? But realistically, Russia's gold would just probably be sold through to China and into the markets in just a different way, be just circumnavigating the whole thing. So maybe not, but I didn't know if we'd have seen a bit of a push up in the market there. Morning, Ray. Overall, though, it still looks quite a mess, and I can't make head nor tail of it. So I shouldn't be trading it. That's easy. Oil. So oil. Let's come out. Look at the dailies again. Really, it's been selling largely. It's pitching up a little bit at the moment. It has been. It did on Friday. It got a bit of a pitch up there. Is it now in a more of a bounce, or are we going to see a sell back? And really, I'd be looking at the moment in the pattern that we're seeing there. The only place I'd really be looking at is this trend line. It's got some higher lows within that trend line. Maybe if it starts breaking down that, it could be a bit more significant. But tough oil market to go short on at this stage. At some stage, I guess it's going to get a bit back to normal-ish, the new normal, whatever that looks like. But for now, my preference in terms of the fundamentals on the market was to be trading it looking for the upside. But there we are. We've got some scope on downside. Okay, let's change markets. Let's have a look at that lovely market, the crypto market. We'll start off looking at Bitcoin here, and it's having a little bounce. But nice flag, bear flag is all I can see there. The markets are quite similar right the way through. Ethereum, Ripple, all look pretty much the same. So I'm just going to really talk about Bitcoin here, and to me it's still a seller's dream in real terms. So I do wonder if we've got some more downside yet to come, another step down, a bit of consolidation after such a sell-off. It's not unusual. It's whether we'll get a bit more panic coming out of this already. I mean, for those people that were sort of pushing for it to be up to 100,000 plus, well, it's not looking like it's going that way at the moment. The lack of any intrinsic value on it makes it a tough one anyway. And with the unsettled markets, I just think that it's got potential as people panic to sell more. Right, not the time to be buying yet, in my book. There may be some other cryptocurrencies you like, some of the lower price ones which you think will have a bit of a punt on. Well, they are just that, a punt. Yeah, just looking at Binance here, thinking of one of them. It's outperformed, and Litecoin outperformed a little bit last week at times. It's put higher lows in. It's looking a little bit stronger, but either way, they are very much a punt. Okay, indices probably always have been a bit of a punt, but they're a big punt at the moment. So looking at the stock indices, the CSI 300 seems to be continuing to the upside path. It likes what's going on, and the slight better growth I'd say hardly any growth prospects there, but anyway, it's after further shutdowns, etc. It's performing better. The Nikkei, well, had a bit of a gap up here overnight there, pushed up, and again catching a bit of a bounce here. We'll see a similar story through some of these markets. Nifty 50 gaps up. It's shown a red candle. I mean, it's only because it's down on its open, but it's still up a decent amount of points. And there's this huge gap up just above it, so it's really a case of, is it going to continue over the next day or two to go and fill that big gap, or is it going to go and fill the smaller gap below? Choices. Overall markets though, when we start looking at US markets, I know we're seeing a bit of a bounce at the moment. I'm just waiting to see when we start seeing a sell come back into this. For me, it's the outlook's got to be more to the downside than what we're seeing in terms of this short-term bounce. Of course, I would be wrong if it starts breaking through the trends that are running at the trend lines. If I was drawing them on from the highs here, if it starts breaking through, could be proved wrong. But I believe there's just more downside to come. The Nasdaq, similar case, so all the way through, same case on that. CAC, Friday even, caught quite a decent bounce there. Not too sure where to go this morning. It's dithering a little bit. There is that gap just above which could get filled, and it could give people some hope. But again, the equity markets worldwide, I think, are going to get a bit more of a sell point before we see any really proper buying coming back into them. There's been a decent case in recent years when I've been saying, well, there's nowhere else for money to go to earn anything. Now interest rates are starting to increase. There is somewhere for money to go and earning something. And if growth in stocks, etc., taken a bit of hit, well, we could see more, as I say, more selling here as money sort of readjusts itself as it would have done in the past. Okay, just finally, the Nasdaq, the FTSE here, not opened yet on this chart, but again we'll probably get a similar sort of movement there. But either way, so it's put a little higher low in actually on Friday, so it was one of the darlings of the indices. Well, maybe it'll get, if we see a bounce through the others, it'll get a bit better bounce. But overall, the whole lot looked to me quite soft on equities. That's it, really. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you. Bitcoin looks like oil at the moment. It does. Not to a degree. Okay. On that note, I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now. Send that. Right.